She was quite known for her feisty personality.
Feeling that we got when they came out with the baby, we couldn't miss it again. We couldn't miss this one.
Just did something that stunned the entire country. It happened at home, during a quiet moment with her family, and it shook Prince William to his core. You see, royal life isn't all tiaras and fairy tales. There's pressure, distance, and a whole lot of duty, even at Christmas. But what happens when a 9-year-old princess sees through all of that and calls it out, right in front of everyone? Join us as we reveal the bold moment that Princess Charlotte shocked everyone. Princess Charlotte's bombshell message to Prince William. Christmas is one of the most important seasons for the royal family at Sandringham. Long dinners, Christmas carols, beautiful presents, and cameras waiting outside the church. But behind closed doors, it's still just a family, trying to enjoy each other's company for a few days. There's laughter, teasing, and a lot of tradition. However, recently, something happened during the royal Christmas celebrations. Something no one saw coming. According to palace sources, everyone was gathered in the drawing room when Charlotte made her move. It was warm, cozy, and familiar. Little moments like this didn't come often anymore, especially for Prince William, whose days were packed with public events, meetings, and the growing pressure of his future role as the King of England. This was supposed to be a time to relax with his family, especially his kids, who were growing up fast. Then, all hell broke loose, when Princess Charlotte broke the silence. Keep watching for the full gist. 9-year-old Charlotte had been moving around the room like any other child her age. She was chatting, helping with ribbons, occasionally teasing her brothers. But somewhere in the middle of it all, she stopped. She stood in front of her father, looked him straight in the eye, and said something that caught everyone off guard. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, calm, and completely serious. She told him she knew he was busy. She understood that being a prince came with a lot of responsibility. But she also told him, in her simple way, that she missed him. That sometimes it felt like he was so focused on being a prince that he forgot to just be her dad. And that was it. One short moment, one small voice, but it changed everything. The room went completely silent again. No one moved. It was like everyone froze at once, unsure of what to do or say. Kate was sitting nearby and turned toward Charlotte with wide eyes. You could see the surprise on her face, but also something else. Pride. She wasn't angry or uncomfortable. She looked at her daughter like she was seeing a new side of her for the first time. William didn't speak. Not at first. But his face said more than enough. His usual expression, the one the public knows so well, the polished, composed, always in control prince, just melted away. You could see something shift in him. His eyes dropped, his mouth tightened a little, and for a second, he just looked human. Not royal, not a future king. Just a father hearing something he hadn't realized his child needed to say. Charlotte's words weren't meant to hurt. They weren't complaining. They came from a place of honesty, the kind that only children can get away with. She wasn't trying to embarrass him. She wasn't even looking for attention. She just wanted him to know how she felt. And she trusted him enough to tell him, even if it meant saying something uncomfortable. That moment cut through all the ceremony and tradition like nothing else could. It was about family. A little girl missed her dad. And in that one sentence, she reminded everyone in the room, especially Prince William, what matters. But here is the twist. This is not like the first time Charlotte had shown she was smart or observant. People had always noticed her quick wit and sharp personality at events. She had that spark, always cheeky, always charming. But this time, it was about her bravery. She had noticed something most people wouldn't dare bring up, and she said it because it mattered to her. And it worked. The whole mood in the room changed after that. According to reports, William started paying closer attention, not just to Charlotte, but to all three of his kids. The hugs lasted longer. The laughs became more real. Even the way he looked at Kate seemed softer, like he was seeing her in that moment too. Charlotte didn't bring it up again. She didn't need to. The message had landed, and it stuck. Over the next few days, it became clear that something had shifted in William. Not in some big dramatic way, but in the smaller moments that count. He was more present, more tuned in, less distracted by duty. It was like her words had pulled him out of the fog of duty and reminded him where he was, who he was with, and why it mattered. For Kate, it was a proud moment. She's always been protective of her kids' emotional well-being, and Charlotte showing that kind of maturity, well, it wasn't something she took lightly. You could tell that behind the initial shock, she was proud. Proud of her daughter for being emotionally aware and for having the guts to speak up, even in a family that's constantly under pressure to keep everything neat and quiet. And for Charlotte, it was a moment that quietly changed how people saw her. Until then, most of the public saw her as the funny one, the one pulling faces at cameras, giving George a nudge during parades, or cracking jokes at official events. But this showed something different, a depth most hadn't seen. A seriousness was wrapped inside her playful personality. She wasn't just a royal child following the rules. She was thinking, feeling, watching, and when the time was right, she used her voice to connect with her father. Oh, for those wondering why this was never published in a major British tabloid, the truth is that this wasn't a headline moment. It wasn't caught on camera or shared across social media. It happened quietly, inside palace walls, and thanks to sources close to the royal family. Otherwise, we might never have caught any glimpse of it. It happened. This story reminds everyone that behind all the royal titles and polished public images, a real family is dealing with real things. And sometimes, it takes the youngest voice in the room to bring people back to what matters most. By the end of the holiday, things weren't magically fixed. William still had duties waiting for him. The royal schedule wasn't going anywhere. But something had changed. The family felt different. William made more time for them, and they became closer. To understand how Princess Charlotte became the brave, smart, and outspoken girl we see today, we have to talk about her upbringing. What you are about to see will blow your mind. Charlotte, the people's princess. For Princess Charlotte, life didn't begin quietly. The moment she was born on May 2nd, 2015, the world paid attention. Outside the Lindo wing of St. Mary's Hospital in London, crowds had already gathered. Cameras pointed at the door, waiting to catch the new royal. When she finally appeared in her mother's arms, wrapped in white, the streets erupted in cheers. There were gun salutes. It was a celebration fit for a future queen, if that's the path life takes her. Her name carried a message. Charlotte Elizabeth Diana wasn't just a sweet combination. It was loaded with meaning. The first name came from her grandfather, Charles. Elizabeth was for the reigning queen, her great-grandmother. And Diana, well, that one needed no explanation. Naming her after William's mother was a clear sign of love, memory, and legacy. Even as a newborn, Charlotte was stepping into a long family story. However, despite the loud welcome, her early years were quiet. The family spent most of their time at Anmer Hall, their country home in Norfolk. It was far from the constant flashes of cameras and crowds of reporters. There, she could be a baby, a toddler, a little girl, not a public figure. The setting gave her something rare in royal life: normalcy. She played in the garden with George, followed Kate around the kitchen, and learned about life in the countryside. Even as the press followed every move from a distance, William and Kate held the line. They wanted her to grow up protected, and they made sure of it. Still, the public watched. Every time a new photo came out, probably her birthday portraits, Christmas cards, or christening pictures, people noticed something about Charlotte. She had a presence. Even as a baby, there was a spark in her eyes, a certain self-awareness, and when she did show up at events, she stole the show without even trying. In 2017, things changed. The family moved to Kensington Palace. It marked a new chapter. Life became more public, and Charlotte was no longer just a royal baby hidden away from the world. This was when her personality started shining through. Then Charlotte shocked everyone at a public event. Keep watching to find out how. It was during Prince Louis's christening. Charlotte wasn't the baby of the family anymore. She was the big sister, and she acted like it. While everyone focused on the new baby, Charlotte was making faces, waving at the crowd and walking with a confidence that felt far beyond her age. It wasn't rehearsed or forced. It was natural. She didn't look nervous. She looked like she belonged, like she knew her role already. By then, it was clear Charlotte wouldn't blend into the background. She started school soon after. Her first stop was Wilcox Nursery, not far from Kensington. A few years later, she moved on to Thomas's school in Battersea. There she went by Charlotte Cambridge, just like George did. No titles, no fuss. It was the school's way of keeping things grounded. Her classmates saw her as another kid in a uniform, not the granddaughter of the future king. Still, people outside the school walls kept watching. At public appearances, she became known for her little waves and side eyes. During an event, Charlotte stuck her tongue out playfully at the crowd. Another time, she politely corrected photographers when they got too loud. These weren't accidents. She knew what she was doing. That confidence didn't come from training. It came from being raised in a family that told her it was okay to be herself. But there's one part of Charlotte's story that most people miss, and it's one of the most historic. Thanks to a change in royal succession law through an amendment called the Perth Agreement. It means Charlotte didn't lose her spot in line to the throne when Prince Louis was born. That had never happened before. In the past, younger brothers always bumped older sisters down the line, but not anymore. Charlotte kept her place as fourth in line, right after George. That one rule change said a lot about the times we live in, and it quietly put Charlotte in the middle of something bigger than tradition. Another interesting thing about Charlotte is not the attention she gets. It's how she handles it. From the outside, it might look like a fairy tale, you know, with royalty, castles, carriages, and titles. But being a young royale comes with pressure. Every wave, every expression, every outfit gets picked apart. Every step is photographed. But Charlotte seems to take it all in stride. She doesn't try to shrink herself. She doesn't play it safe. She just shows up as she is, the cheeky, bold, and full-of-life princess. And that's part of why people connect with her. She reminds them that even inside the royal bubble, there are real kids with real emotions and big personalities. There's something relatable in the way she clings to her mom's hand before an event, or whispers to her brothers during a long ceremony. She might wear a crown one day, but right now, she's still learning how to braid her hair and spell big words. Over time, Charlotte's public moments have started to show another side, too. She is not just the playful princess, but a more thoughtful, composed person. Remember during Queen Elizabeth's funeral, the world saw Charlotte standing tall, dressed in black, looking somber, but calm. She knew where she was and what it meant. She wasn't putting on an act. She was paying her respects, fully aware of the responsibility of the day. It was a signal that this little girl people once called cheeky was growing into someone serious, someone aware of her place in history. Even though she's only just entering her teenage years, Charlotte's journey so far feels bigger than her age. She's already changed how people think about the next generation of royals. She's not just the daughter of a future king. She's a sign of change, both in how people view the monarchy and in how children are raised within it. And what makes it all more interesting is that none of this feels like a performance. Charlotte isn't trying to be the perfect princess. She's just being herself. That's what makes her stand out. Whether she's clapping at a sports game, curtsying at a formal event, or laughing with her brothers on the balcony, she brings something real to a world that's often carefully staged. But Charlotte's charm is not limited to expressing herself in words. Her public charisma will change everything you thought you knew about her. Princess Charlotte's charisma. From the moment Princess Charlotte started showing up at royal events, it became pretty clear to everyone that this little royal wasn't going to be quiet in the background. She had something most adults still struggle to master: presence. At just a few years old, Charlotte didn't need to speak to be noticed. Her eyes did the talking. Her reactions spoke volumes. And when the cameras tried to catch her off guard, she didn't freeze. She stared right back. That sass? Instant headline. The press started calling her the Queen of Sass, and honestly, they weren't wrong. That signature side-eye became a thing. The public loved it, and she didn't seem to care either way. She wasn't putting on a show. This was just Charlotte being Charlotte. The magic of it all was how unfiltered and honest she came across, even while standing in some of the most watched places in the world. Then came King Charles's coronation. While all eyes were on crowns, robes, and the heavy history of the day, it was Charlotte's stare that somehow stole the moment. During the ceremony, there was a brief second when something around her caught her attention, and that look she gave, sharp, focused, just a little bit annoyed. No words, just a glance. And people couldn't stop talking about it. It was the kind of expression that made you wonder what she was thinking. And because she didn't say anything, the world filled in the blanks. Everyone had a theory. That's when people started realizing this girl has real screen presence. And she didn't slow down. At the 2024 Royal Christmas Walk, the family was doing their usual stroll, smiles, waves, the whole routine. But the cameras got a little too close, and in that instant, Charlotte delivered a look that shut everything down. No tantrum, no drama. Just a glare that made even the most persistent photographers lower their lenses. That kind of control, that quiet way of setting boundaries. It wasn't just sass, it was confidence. But that is not all. Charlotte also had this light-hearted, cheeky energy that made her incredibly relatable. During the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, there was this small moment that turned into one of the most shared clips of the entire event. Charlotte, without hesitation, swapped seats with someone mid-event. It looked so natural, like she had a plan and didn't need to check with anyone. And that smirk afterward? It said, "I got this," without her saying a word. People loved it because it felt like a regular kid move, but in a royal setting where nothing is ever really spontaneous. Except with her, it kind of was. One of the most surprising things about her is how effortlessly she balances fun with responsibility. During a visit to Cardiff Castle, there was a musical moment where the kids were invited to participate with an orchestra. Most children might shy away from stepping up. Not Charlotte. She went right in, picked up the baton, and led the musicians like she had done it before. She wasn't just waving her arms around. Charlotte paid attention. She watched, listened, and took it seriously. That short moment gave everyone a clue into her ability to lead, even in spaces that are new and unfamiliar. And then there was the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. Everything about the event was heavy. Everyone was trying to hold themselves together. Yet even in the middle of all that grief and protocol, Charlotte didn't miss a beat. She noticed that her older brother, Prince George, forgot to bow at a key moment. Without hesitation, she gently reminded him. It was subtle, respectful, but firm. She knew the traditions, She cared enough to speak up, even when emotions were running high. That quiet nudge said a lot, not just about her awareness, but about her sense of responsibility. Another time, during a formal royal service, Charlotte was given a bouquet to hold. At first glance, that might seem like a small throwaway detail, but not with her. A few people reached in to touch it, maybe a little too casually, and she wasn't having it. She held it tighter and made sure it stayed close. It wasn't about being rude, it was about standing her ground. The way she guarded that bouquet said something about how she values the things she's given and how she doesn't let go just because someone expects her to. That moment of quiet resistance. It was powerful in its way. Of course, not everything she does is about leadership and poise. Charlotte also knows how to be a kid, and sometimes she doesn't hide it. At the King's Cup sailing event, while greeting a cheering crowd, she stuck her tongue out. Just like that. Completely unfiltered, a little mischievous, and somehow charming. It was one of those flashes of personality that made people laugh out loud. It reminded everyone that even though she's growing up in palaces and under constant watch, she's still a kid with a playful spark. Then there was the time she covered her ears during a military flyover. Loud jets soared overhead, and while everyone else stayed locked into their composed expressions, Charlotte did the obvious thing. She pressed her hands to her ears and squinted. She wasn't performing. She was just reacting like any kid would. And that's what makes her stand out. She never hides who she is just to fit the mold. That's what sets Charlotte apart in the royal world. It's not just the dresses or the official titles, it's how real she seems, even when everything around her is staged. Most kids born into royalty are taught early on to stay quiet, stay polished, and avoid standing out. Charlotte flips that idea on its head. She's polite, yes. She knows when to bow, when to wave, and when to smile. But she doesn't pretend. She shows her full range. Happy, annoyed, playful, proud, all without trying to be anything other than herself. In a world where everything is so tightly controlled, especially in the royal family, that kind of honesty is rare and refreshing. Charlotte isn't trying to be a rebel. She's just not interested in blending in when she knows exactly who she is. That's what draws people in, whether it's her stare, her smirk, or the way she takes charge without needing to raise her voice. Every moment she's in the spotlight, she adds something new to her story. And that story is just getting started. Behind the sass, there's something else taking shape. A young girl with the confidence to lead, the humor to connect, and the boldness to show up fully, no matter who's watching. Charlotte may be young, but she's already rewriting what it means to be a royal in today's world. And as she grows up, that fire inside her is only going to burn brighter. Thank you for staying with us. What do you love most about Princess Charlotte? Share your opinions with us in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, click the following video on your screen and you will enjoy it.